Good morning, students. And how are you doing today? Very well. So before we get into today's lesson, we will be doing a question and answer segment. So the first question is, have you ever borrowed money from a friend or a relative? Okay. Yes. And secondly, did you return the same amount of money you borrowed? I'm seeing some yeses and I'm seeing some no's. If you did not pay back the same amount, what do you think the extra money is called? Profit. Well, yes, but there's another word that we can use. Yes, Krishna. Interest. Yes, it's also called interest. But to that person, they made a profit. And the last question, what are some business places in your community that you know that receive interest on money they lend? Yes, Leroy, banks. Right? Very well. So today's topic is simple interest. Right? We'll be looking at simple interest, and the objective of the lesson is, after examining person and places in your community, you'll be able to understand correctly and calculate simple interest using formulas. Right? Good. But what is interest? What is interest? Let me hear what you think is interest. So, Jazza is saying interest is the extra money you pay when you lend someone money. Right? That's what I was asking you just now. The extra money that you pay to someone after you borrow, it's called interest. So, a formal definition for interest. Is everyone being able to see on the whiteboard? Very well. So, what is interest? Interest is the extra money paid by an institution like banks or post office on money kept with them. Right? So it's the extra money that will be received. So it's not only banks but post office do it. Well, you're not going to be aware, but probably your parents, if they send money to the post office, they'll pay an additional fee than the amount they're actually sending, right? So what is simple interest? Simple interest is the money paid or received over a certain period. It's a fixed percentage of the principal amount that was borrowed or lent. So if the bank lend your parents or you some money and you pay extra, that's called interest, right? And if you borrowed money from somebody and the extra money that you pay, it's interest. But the simple interest is where we're taking a fixed percentage of that money that we have borrowed or lent, right? Good. So before we can go on any further in simple interest, there's a few terms that you need to be aware of, that you should know. So let's get into the terms that you will need to know before we move on further. Terms associated with simple interest. The first term we have is principal, and this is represented by P, right? And the principal is the money borrowed or lent. So the money that you're going to borrow from the bank, or the money that you're going to lend a friend, or you're going to lend a relative, that is called the principal, right? And then we have the rate. The rate is how much interest the bank will give in terms of percentage. So anything that is expressed in percentage, it's the rate at which you'll be paying back the interest, right? And then we have time, which is represented by T, and that is the length of time given in terms of year or years or part of a year. So it can be a month or you see it in year, and this is how long you have to pay back the money that you borrow, or how long the person have to pay you back the money that was lent. So how do we actually find simple interest? Alright, now I'll give you the formula to find simple interest. The formula to calculate simple interest is represented by the letters SI. It's the principal times the rate times the times divided by 100. Right? So, looking at this formula. So, given this formula, simple interest equal principal times rate times time divided by 100. If we want to make the principal, or if we want to find the principal of the question, how do you think we're going to rearrange our formula to find the principal? Yes, Ashley. We're going to carry the principal over the equal sign. And what is the principal doing to the rate? It's multiplying. So it's going to be simple interest divided by the principal, and that's going to equal to rate times time divided by 100. But still we have the simple interest onto the principal. So what we do, we put the principal equal to, we're going to distribute the simple interest with the 100 instead of compiling it all to the top. So it's going to be the simple interest times 100 divided by the rate times the time. And this is how we find the principal. Right? What I want you to do now is to make R the subject of the formula and make T. And then I'm going to pick two persons to tell me what they came up with. So take 3 minutes and do that. Good. So we already came up with our formula to calculate the principal. Right? Okay, Jasmine. What did you came up with to find rate? 100 multiplied by SI divided by P times T. Did everybody get that? Tim, what do you have? Well, even if you put the SI in front of the 100, it's the same thing. So everybody got what Ashley has. Right? So that's how we find the rate. Okay, Randall, how do we find time? 100 multiplied by simple interest divided by principal times rate. Everybody got that? Very well. So we can move on. So this is how we find time. Right, so these are the formulas that we'll be working with to calculate simple interest. So this is the main formula that you have to remember, and from this formula you can derive the other formulas. Right? Very good. Let's work some example using each formula. Example 1. Calculate the simple interest on $150, which is saved 3 years at 4% per annum. Right? So looking at our formula, which one of the formula would we use to calculate simple interest? Yes, Tyrese. Principal times rate times time divided by 100. Good. So simple interest What is the principal? It's the money borrowed or lent, right? So in this case, what are we going to put in the case of P? Yes, Tim, 150 times, what is the rate? 4% times, how long do we have to pay it back? 3 years. And this is all divided by 100. So what we're going to do now, we can cancel out this 0 with this 0. And we can use 2 to cancel out 4 and 10. So 2 into 4, 2, 2 into 10, we have 5. 5 into 5, 1. 5 into 15, 3. Right? So there's nothing else we can cancel out. So what do we have remaining? Simple interest is going to equal to 3 times 2 times 3 over 1. So our simple interest, 3 2s, 6, and 6 3s, 80, divided by 1. So our simple interest for this question is 80. Right? And put it in dollars. Is that clear? Very well. So let's work another example where we have to find time. Example 2. How long will it take Mr. Mark to gain an investment of $270 if he invests $600 at 9% per annum? So once we're speaking about how long, we're speaking about the timing. So let us figure out what we have. It says how much he will gain if he invests $600. So the money that is borrowed or lent, what is that called? It's the principal. So he's going to lend this $600. Right? So this is the principal. 9% per annum. What is this? Good. This is the rate. And an interest of $270. Well, this is stated that it's the interest. Good. So what is the formula to calculate time? It's going to be time equal to 100 times the simple interest divided by the principal times the rate. Right? So time is going to equal to 100 times, we know that our simple interest is 270 divided by the principal of 600 times 9. So let's cancel out. We'll take out this 0, this 0, this 0, this. What else can we break down? What can we use to break down 6 and 270 or 9 and 270? Okay, Tim, so what are we going to break down from there? 9 and 270. And how much time 9 can go into 270? 9 into 9, let me just put for the chart. 9 into 9, 1, 9 into 270 is going to give us 30. What else can be broken down? 6. 6 into 6, 1, and 6 into 30. 5. Right? So for time, we have 5. Right? You can see we have 5 up here and 1 to the bottom. So it's going to take 5 years for Mr. Mark to gain the $270. Okay? So let us move on to example 3. Is there any questions so far? Very well, so we can move on. Okay, so they're asking us to find the rate, right? And we're going to be using the $350 as our principal because this is the money that we will borrow. So this is our principal. And we have 4 years to pay back. So this is our time. And we have a simple interest of $42. So the formula to calculate rate is 100 over the simple interest times the principal divided by the principal times time. So rate is going to equal to 100 times simple interest divided by principal times time. Okay, Jasmine, what are we going to cancel out? We can take out this 0 with this 0. Then we can use 5 to divide 10 and 35. So 5 into 10, we'll have 2. And 5 into 35, we have 7. 2 into 2, 1. And then 2 into 4, 2. Right? And we can cancel out 7 into 7, 1. 7 into 42, 6. So, rate is going to equal to 6 divided by 2. We have 3. Right? And rate is always in percentage. So, 3%. Is that clear? Any questions? Okay, let's move on to our final example where we will have to find the principal. Good. Calculate the principal that will be earning from $600 in 3 years at 50% per annum. Our formula to calculate principal is 100 multiplied by the simple interest divided by rate times. Alright? So, we know that we have 3 years. That's our time. 15%. It's our rate, and our simple interest is 600. So, P 100 times 600 by a rate of 15 times 3. So, 3 into 3, 1. 3 into 600 is going to be 200. 5 into 50, we can have 3, and 5 into 200, we're going to have 40. Is everyone with me? So, principal is going to be 100 times 40 divided by 3. That's going to equal to 4,000 divided by 3. Is that clear? So we have a principal of $1,333.33. So this is the principal. Okay? So you can take the example and then we can move on. So students, now I'll be sending you the link for you to gain access to your worksheet. It's in the chat. Is everyone having to gain access? Alright then. So what you're going to do now, you're going to complete your worksheet and then submit your answers and working to my Gmail. And then we can move on from there. So you may begin working on the worksheet. So is everyone finished? Was there any problem? Very well, I will see when I mark. So now the link that I'll be sending you is for your homework. Right? So you can copy and paste somewhere for later use. Alright students, so to conclude today's lesson, we'll be playing a game called the loan game. So for this loan game, I would like you to form about groups of 5. You're going to form different institutions and you're going to display simple interest in your role play. So you have to like give me the steps. I have to see you giving me scenarios and I have to see you using formula to actually calculate. Since there will be groups of 5, one group, okay, 2 groups is going to use the principal formula and the rest of group you're going to decide which one is going to get what. So you can type in the chat which group is going to use which one and who are going to be in which group. And then you're going to have 5 minutes per group to present, right? Good. All right. So can each group send their work in for their simple interest scenarios that was carried out? All right. So the first group, very well. Got all 5. So now class is dismissed. You're free to switch off your device.